does company culture mean to you? It's a very vague question, very broad question, but what does it mean to you based on your experience? Judy.
So if I go back my early days before consulting, I was leading people and culture for a number of large organizations for the first number of years of my career. So the simple, and I'm a simplifier, to me, company culture is the way we do things around here, the way we speak. It's about kind of almost the way we dress, the rituals, the patterns, the routines and the traditions that make up the way we make, move, sell, create what we do. That's my simplified version of it.
Awesome.
So just to add to Judy's point, so I can simplify it too, and I echo a lot of what she said. It's kind of this feeling, and it's really like the actions and the behaviors and the values that employees of an organization have towards each other, the behaviors and actions that they have towards their customers, and also just overall the general organization. So that's simplifying it too.
Yeah. And Judy literally uses the exact same verbiage that I use, the way we do things around here. So not too different of the answer, but the only thing I would add, and usually what I do add, is that I don't think that company culture exists without the context in a business. And I think it often happens where we talk about company culture from such an idealistic perspective that we get so far into the clouds and we forget that actually any company culture exists to build the business, keep the business going, and make the business thrive. And that's something that I've always had to make the caveat of, because people don't listen to company culture. People have trained themselves to think, oh, I don't want to talk about company culture because it's too fluffy, it's too in the clouds. And then I'm like, but actually we're having this conversation because we want to see your businesses keep thriving. And that's the only way they will, if you have that strong cohesive culture. So that's the caveat I add to culture, is the way we do things around here.
So when it comes to leaders, okay, what role do company leaders, and I'm going to say company leaders because company leaders doesn't have to be the CEO and then that's it, right? The whole team can play that leadership role, but what role do company leaders play in establishing strong company culture, and what role do employees play? We'll go backwards now, Tynan.
Yeah, I think, I'm still early in my career and young and have seen a lot, but have much more to see. The one thing that I've observed, and again, it's an opinion still, but I've often found that leaders get too much credit for the culture and employees don't get enough. And I think for me, of course, like you started us off by saying, Caleb, that, leaders, unless there's a strong leader leading the charge, it won't ever get there. I think that's important. But I also think that the best leaders I've seen at, creating culture is simply that, they do a really great job, just like in any, scenario, they do a really great job of empowering their teams to take the culture, run with it, and shape it. The worst thing you can do is decide what the culture is supposed to be for your organization and then make your employees do whatever you say they do, right? That's dictatorship, but it's so common. It's CEO and his 3 vice presidents getting around in a, room and saying, here's where we're going to go. And I saw this TED talk from Simon Sinek, and this is our new culture. And then, all the employees are like, that feels so inorganic. That came from nowhere. That's nothing of how we behaved, or, as Shioka was saying, like that doesn't summate any of our behavior. And so I really feel it has to be this super connected, intermixed union between employee and leadership. And it has to come out organically. I think that the thing that I always end with is the culture usually already exists. Sometimes it's just, you have to put a name to it, right? You just have to maybe give it words, give it some shape, but changing it is going to be so much harder than just sort of saying what's already working really well. And let's just formalize that. So if new people come on, we tell them, here's what works really well here, that kind of thing. So that's how I always kind of lean on that topic.
Thanks, Tynan.
But, so to add to that, so just to give everyone a background, for most of my career, I've worked for companies that have been in the business a very long time. A lot of times I'm coming into organizations and people have been there for a long time. So it's interesting on the dynamics of culture. And I've really understood over my career what the impact employees make on culture and the impact leaders make on culture. And I think the impact that leaders make on culture is really kind of setting the stage and then living by that every single day. So we always talk about, kind of walking the talk. I think leaders really have to walk the talk, right? They really have to believe in it. And there has to be an aligned approach to that, because you can't have one leader of one department thinking a culture a certain way and another leader thinking the culture is a different way. So it's really important that they have alignment. And again, they're walking the talk. And then from an employee standpoint, I agree that there has to be, that employees need to nurture the culture, and then they really take it to the next level. So leaders can, again, set the stage. They need to live by it every single day, but the employees nurture it, right? They're the ones that are living and breathing it every day and really kind of taking it to the next level.
So I'm actually going to kind of almost take out this leader versus employee, because I'm going to sort of share a fundamental principle in the way I see the world. I believe leadership is a mindset. It's not a position. And so from that frame, when I think about the role we all play, I ask the question regularly with the people I work with is, are you a role model? Are you someone who says or does things that makes other people feel or look good? And I think that, to build on sort of what everybody else has said, we all play a role in culture. And it's interesting for me, when I walk into client workplaces, I spend a lot of time observing. And quite often, I will hear the whole bit of it. These are our values. And I'm like, okay, cool. What does that look like? What does that sound like? In other words, when I'm walking the halls around here, what am I going to see? What am I going to hear? How am I going to feel? So if we model any of these values, or when we talk about our culture, I almost love to get the people I work with, or I spend time watching, as if I was a movie camera filming it. Do I feel what it is you say you are?
Yeah.
Do I see it? Can I articulate it back to you in such a way that you would be like, yeah, that is who we are? And I think that we set the tone depending on the role we have in the organization. But to what the others have said, I think we foster a culture when we give everyone permission to model it every single day in their own way. And I think the other piece for me around culture is when things don't land the way we are, rather than us, I've seen quite often where we go, that's not our culture, versus what if we got curious and really asked the questions, tell me more about why you're saying or doing that, or how you've interpreted our culture in that way. Because I think that's where we start to create a sense too of belonging. And culture to me also is about that idea of I belong here. And in that belonging, I'm in the service of something bigger, or to play on what Tynan says, whether it's the business goals, the service goals, whatever other things we're trying to do. So those are my 2 cents.